Good evening, Zimbabwe. This is Change Radio News. Today is Monday, the 17th of June, 2024. The news read by Divine Nambira. Stories making the headlines. Citizens impressed by President Chamisa's call for unity. Youths remain resolute after the arrest of Senator Timba and 80 others. Churches call for support in advocating for dialogue to end the economic and political crisis. And now the stories in detail. Last week, President Nelson Chamisa called for unity among Zimbabweans after attending a ceremony hosted by the UK Embassy in Harare. His followers in different places embraced this idea. Change Radio reporter Kokelani Shame spoke to various followers. Let's hear what Miss Maria Nyandoro had to say.
Maswera sei muri yeZimbabwe ini ndiri kutaura ndiri kuno kuUnited Kingdom. MaZimbabwean mazhinji ari kuno vari kugamuchira mashoko erudo erunyararo nekubatana akataurwa naPresident Chamisa. President Chamisa vari kutendwa nekurakidza kwavo mawara anounza runyararo nerudo muupenyu. Vakaratidzira mawara asingaunzi ruvengo, kutukana nemhirizhonga. President Chamisa vanoramba vachiratidza kuti vanoregerera kunyangwe pavanokanganisirwa chaipo. Havauye vaine mabakatwa vachiti nhasi tinopedzerana, asi kuti vanotungamidza Mwari pane zvinhu zvese uye vanobhilivha mukutaurirana mune zvakanaka pakugadzirisana mumatambudziko ese. Iyi ndiyo shuwiro yedu tese veruzhinji kuno kunyangwe kuZimbabwe, kuva nemutungamiriri anotungamirira murunyararo nekuregerera pasina kana kutukana kana kurowana kana kuurayana. Mazvita zvenyu.
Mr. Abel Runga said that unity brings the country together and enables stability and development. Let's hear him speaking to Change Radio.
Well, thank you very much for this question, and I would like to comment that, the call for unity by Advocate Nelson Chamisa brings about two important aspects that I want to group. As the first one is the issue of national stability. It brings about a national stability, and it also brings about the second issue, which is the commitment to democratic principles that is being shown by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. On the national stability, it shows that unity prevents further polarization and the potential conflict that can emanate from the high polarized political environment that we have in Zimbabwe, and therefore it ushers in a way for a peaceful environment that also brings in a constructive dialogue and reconciliation regardless of the contested August elections that did not meet the minimum requirements or the minimum regulations of the SADC Troika and also the African Union regulations. On the second important theme of this call for unity, it shows that Advocate Nelson Chamisa has a commitment to democratic principles. It reflects the willingness from the national leader to engage in the democratic process despite disputed election results, and also it encourages respect for democratic norms and the rule of law, and also it promotes solutions through institutional channels rather than confrontation. And if you look at this commitment to democratic principles, it also harmonizes the conflict that exist amongst the people in Zimbabwe. Remember, we are dealing with the environment that is highly polarized. So the most important ingredient now that we need is for the people of Zimbabwe to eradicate conflict by actually uniting, for a purpose to see Zimbabwe grow for the betterment of everyone. This is the most important call, because if you look at the liberation struggle historically.
Also, Mr. Mbira congratulated President Chamisa for calling for unity and said unity is important in nation building. Let's hear him speaking.
Thank you very much, sir, for that important question. The call by President Advocate Nelson Chamisa for unity among the Zimbabweans for a stronger and better nation was welcomed by many Zimbabweans across the political divide. And I would personally like to congratulate the President for such a clarion call. You know, unity among the citizens is particularly crucial in nation building as it fosters a sense of shared identity, purpose, and belonging. When there is unity and love, there is social cohesion and stability. Unity also encourages the collaboration and teamwork, leading to enhanced economic growth and development. So one thing that made me particularly happy about the call was the sincerity and the liveliness that the call bore. The die has been cast, and it's now up to us, the people, to practice unity, because I know the President really meant business. All the people has been speaking to are elated by the call, as no one wants to live in a fragmented nation. Unity, as everyone is saying, is the panacea to the many problems that are bedeviling this country. And I sincerely hope, and it is my prayer, that all the other political leaders are going to encourage their followers to respect unity, to respect peace and love, so that this country move forward in the positive direction.
Yesterday, Senator Jameson Timber, his son, and more than 80 youth who were commemorating the June 16th Day of the African Child were arrested in various places around Harare. Change Radio spoke to one of the youth leaders who visited the arrested individuals. She said she was denied access to see them. Let's hear more from her.
Hi everyone. Hi, in this situation, right now in the Toripa Charge of a lot of people Wakasungwa, my youth, asked to shape a waterfall spanning more than 61 Wakasungwa. Pano Patil, Pani 58 at Joseph. Then Kubora de Opachoni, Kune more than 70 Pano Wakasungwa. Guys, this is serious. To be honest, the Toya Panapana 6 months till now, Apana took Bumiro 51. Both were rotated Murguda protester. And Zimbabwe, yes, wake up. Wake up, guys, wherever you are, wake up. This is not easy. This is not easy. Just imagine, Baba wako, Amai wako, kana sisi wako, wakafarirwa so far. What do you think? What will be your reaction? What do you think about that? Is it okay? Let's have. Let's do this together. Let's stand up together. Let's fight for our freedom. You and me, we are equal. You and me, we are one.
Yesterday, the leaders informed Change Radio that they were failing to locate one youth member, Ishmael Keda Chivero. For more details on these unjust arrests, Change Radio also spoke to Senator Wangai Tome, and this is what she said.
And on Saturday in Harare province, we had 16 June 2024 commemorations. We had our youth who had gathered at the private venue in Stothaven to commemorate the 16 June Youth Day commemorations, which is an anniversary of the 16 June Soweto uprising. It was a private commemoration that would include braai and other youth activities. The riot police besieged the house, arrested all the people who were around. They were beaten and frog-marched into a lorry. Tear gas was thrown all over, and a lot of our youths were injured, and they are now receiving medical attention. This is indeed a blatant violation of our democratic rights and a clear attempt to suppress the opposition's voice. We demand justice and the release of all our youths who are incarcerated at the moment. We have the 7 who were in Waterfalls police station, and we managed to pay fine for them at $30 each, and then they were released yesterday. Then we have 20 who are still detained at Avondale police station. These include Senator J.Z. Timber and his son. And we also have 50 plus who are detained at Harare Central Police Station, and some are injured, and we demand justice for all these victims. The state continues with its weaponization of the law against its citizens. We demand justice for all the citizens who support Advocate Nelson Chamisa and who are made to suffer for nothing at the moment. In Chinhoyi, Mashonaland West Province, we had hundreds of youths who had gathered today to celebrate the 16th June Youth Day commemorations at our provincial party office. The riot police disrupted the event, and we can see that the regime is actually in a panic mode and continues to disrupt our events. We demand justice for all our political victims.
The churches across the country, through Bishop Kevin Nyamakanga, have invited everyone to help pressure the government and SADC to resolve the dispute over the 23 August elections. He said this while speaking at a Change Radio program on Saturday evening. They said they have written letters to President Nelson Chamisa and Mr. Mnangagwa, among other stakeholders, calling for a dialogue. The dialogue aims to address the deepening political and economic crisis in the country. Let's hear Bishop Nyamakanga speaking to Change Radio.
So takaona kuti kunguramba tichinamata pasina action atina kwatinosvika, and I don't want to turn this conversation into a sermon, into a hermeneutical sermon, but I just want to say kuti since nalwataura kwatiri takaita initiative yekutanga kuti we are going to petition all stakeholders as the church. We are saying our politicians have been in this battle for a long time, and they go affect an ordinary Zimbabwean citizen. And we as the church, from bottom, we pray with them, we fellowship with them, and we have realized that the government of ZANU-PF is not doing good to the citizens of Zimbabwe. So we wrote 36 letters, petition letters. A very good example, we sent letter to Mr. E.D. Mnangagwa. I personally delivered that letter. We wrote a letter to Mr. Advocate Chamisa. I personally delivered that letter. We delivered letters to Embassy of Zambia, Embassy of Malawi, Sweden Embassy, Canadian Embassy, US Embassy, Amnesty International, Human Rights Lawyers, Zinasu, Sikosi, in short, Kaka, Tendereza Matamba, and we delivered them, and we were saying, we want you people, especially these political players, we want you to have a dialogue that will open avenue to transition of government, that will open an avenue to fresh elections. And with the SADC, we were saying, it is not SADC which is going to install E.D. Mnangagwa. I want to correct that. I'm sorry if I might not be irrelevant to this one. It's not SADC who is going to install E.D. Mnangagwa. It is the people of Zimbabwe who are going to install Mnangagwa. SADC, of course, they got a report, but SADC was waiting for the people of Zimbabwe to act. They were going to act.
On the same day, Change Radio spoke to the citizen spokesperson, Mr. Promise Mukwananzi, who said that ZEC and the courts in Zimbabwe cannot be trusted with electoral issues. He cited this as the reason why, after the rigged 2023 elections, the CCC did not go to the courts. Let's hear him speaking.
And you take a side instead of being neutral and objective. You disqualify yourself as an arbiter, which is what happened to ZEC. They disqualified themselves as an arbiter and as a remedy to the dispute, and so is the court. At least as far as the political electoral disputes are concerned, our courts are unfit to adjudicate, and that is the reason we saw that the court was no longer an effective and fair remedy to the dispute, and thus the approach to SADC. And I think, and I will repeat, that the decisions of the court thereafter further vindicated this position.
He further called for dialogue between President Nelson Chamisa and Mr. Emmerson Mnangagwa. He emphasized that President Nelson Chamisa signifies peace and that, as a patriotic citizens movement, they will continue to use all peaceful ways to remove ZANU-PF from power. Let's hear Mr. Mkwananzi speaking.
When we are a peaceful, non-violent movement that seeks to attain change through elections, that is the thrust of the movement, but we are going to exercise our rights that are provided for in the constitution of the country, and the laws of the country, to push for the reforms that are necessary to achieve a free and fair election in order to change the government of Zimbabwe through a free and fair election. Nobody's going to take any arms. There is no discourse about that. That happened before 1980. It was over. We are going to stand up. We are going to rise and citizens within the confines of the law to challenge the misnomers that we see in the country. And
Mr. Mkwananzi also encouraged all citizens of Zimbabwe to support the petition by the church. He also hinted that as citizens, there will be protests against corruption, state capture, and ZANU-PF misrule across the country. Let's hear him speaking.
And we've already said that we support the initiative of the church, and we urge citizens to support that initiative. In our view, it is better to have one center of voice in terms of that. People can carry out various actions in their localities to support the cause and demonstrate to SADC that the people of Zimbabwe, once the election dispute to be resolved, before Zimbabwe can chair the SADC. And the roadmap to that resolution is very clear. We want dialogue, which involves the two contending presidential candidates, because the dispute is largely centered on the presidential election. And there were two candidates, and you cannot displace one of them in terms of finding the solution. It doesn't matter about the parties, so on and so forth. What matters is that the person that attained the vote that they attained are supposed to sit down, have a dialogue, and resolve the issue of disputed election.
In an ongoing program to review Citizens Coalition for Change MPs and councillors, our reporter Kokelani Shame spoke to residents of Ward 4 of Kadoma. The citizens testified that Councillor Matthias Rwakonda is working very hard to ensure service delivery in the ward and Kadoma as a whole. Let's hear from Councillor Rwakonda.
Muwadi 4 Kadoma mwanoa mandiri kanzela zvinhu zvedu zvakamira zvakadai. Marotsi edu ari kugadzikwa, ari kuiswa magravheri. Akanga aine matara kare, asi matara ose akapera. Saka pari zvino kuti kanzelo iwane mari yokudzokorora kuisa matara. Kanzelo haina mari yakaomekwawo. Kadoma haina maindustry. Saka vanhu vemukadoma vanorarama nechikorokoza. Chikorokoza inzira yokutsvaga nayo mari iri illegal yokuti mangwana unogona kuwana mangwana unogona kushaya. Saka mamiro akati akadoma anogwadza zvokuti panotodawo kuti vagari vaitewo mapayment plan nekanze kuti iwanewo mari yekuti mvura iri kubuda asi neimwe mamwe mazuva inoshayikwawo nezvikonzero zvokuti mapaipi anogona kubhasta. Zvinoda kuti mari inenge ichibharirwa nevagari ikwanise kugadzira manhenekeri iwawo mapaipi iwawo, ikwanise kugadzira kwainobva kunobva mvura, ikwanise kutengawo mishonga yemvura. Asi kanzi haisi kutokwanisa kuwanawo mari iyoyo zvichienderana nokuti vagari vedu vakaomerwawo. Nyaya dzemasiweji vagari vari kugadzirwa masiweji avo zvakanaka asi pari zvino sofa hakuna masiweji ati ava nedambudziko kunyanya mukadoma. Asi zvinezvo zvirimo mukadoma zvinokonzerwawo nemachimiro chakaita zvinhu mukadoma nokuti hakuna kana industrial irimo inoshanda. Takanga tiinana kadoma paper mills vakavhara, David White yakavhara, cold storage yakavhara. Saka pari zvino hamuna chimwe chinhu chiri kufamba kunze kwekutoita chikorokosi ndizvo zvega zviri kuraramisa vanhu vanogara mukadoma. Saka tinotokumbirawo kuti vagari vedu varambe vakabatana nekanzero yavo. Patinoita mafeedback meeting tinovaudza, tiri kufamba tichivaudza kuti aiwa itai payment plan yekanzero kuti muwane ugaro hwakanaka, muwanewo kanzero iwanewo chouviri chinoita kuti nemiwo first delivery irambe ichiitika.
For more information, our reporter also spoke to Mr. Clever Mujigiwa, and this is what he said.
Muward 4 muri kushandwa ndi Clever Mujigiwa from Kadoma. Muri kushandwa road dziri kuiswa magravero, amwe musina matara. Road dziri kuiswa magravero. Uyezve tiri kuona kuti pamafinarawa parufu mabhauza emvura ari kuuya kuita kudzivirira chirwere chekorera kuno Kadoma Ward 4. Uyezve tiri kuona kuti madrainage systems edu ari kukurwa achibviswa madhaka anenge arimo imomo, chiburikidza naMatthew Rakonda ari kuti ari kubvisa madhaka ose, ari kuorganiza vanhu kuti vabvise madhaka anenge ari madrainage system imomomo kuti vanhu mvura ifambe zvakanaka nesewer system yedu izofamba zvakanaka kana ichinge yadhuka isapinde mudzimba umo. Vari kubata basa kuno kuWard 4.
Youth from various parts of the country have expressed their dissatisfaction with the ZANU-PF government. Yesterday in Bulawayo, the police stopped a planned June 16 Day of the African Child event, while in Harare, more than 120 were arrested. Addressing a press conference after they were stopped, Honorable Pasho Sibanda said they are not going to stop mobilizing the youth. Let's hear him speaking.
So we want to teach every young person across the globe, across the country here in Zimbabwe, that let us unite and ensure that we push the very same spirit of Solomon Kalushi down and keep fighting for the young people of South Africa. They did show us the way, and we were commemorating the Day of the African Child. Aluta continue.
Other youth leaders hold the same views. Zane Musariri, a youth leader in Mashonaland West, told Change Radio that they are not going to sit back and watch as Mr. Mnangagwa assumes SADC chairmanship. Let's hear more from him.
I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage my fellow young people that the time is come for us to rally around one another and come into that the oppressors that they are too long patterned upon the plunder of our females, upon the sweat of our brothers. We know that there is an impasse which has come from an election which has not gone well in Zimbabwe, and SADC knows that there is a problem. There is an impasse in Zimbabwe which must be solved. So SADC must address that issue before they appoint someone, they appoint Mr. Mnangagwa as the chairman of the SADC. As a youth, we are seeing nothing like that is going to happen in our eyes. and we are not going to allow and we are not going to tolerate such nonsense to happen in Zimbabwe. We as the youth, we are rallying behind the National Democratic Revolution. The National Democratic Revolution requires us not to be docile and not to be passive about the future. As we are the arbiters of our nation's destiny, it is our duty, it is our responsibility for us to stand when things are not good and when things are not right. So we are not going to watch this nation dying. We are going to save it from dying. So the states are going to be our next homes. We are going to live in the street to make sure that the election impasse is resolved, and we are going to make sure that there is no summit that is going to happen in Zimbabwe before the resolution of the election impasse. So as the young people, we are not going to be intimidated, or we are not going to be afraid. We are not going to be afraid of that. We are going to do things that we think is going to change our environment to be conducive, and we are going to make sure that we do things that would make our future not to be assured. Our future is bleak under this regime, this oppressive regime. They might arrest us.
This is the opinion of the majority of Zimbabweans who have called on SADC to find solutions to the disputed August 2023 elections before handing over chairmanship to Zimbabwe. Honorable Rengai Chiwaura, a contestant in these elections, told Change Radio that the elections have to be redone before the country can move forward. Let's hear more from him.
Now iri kunetsa tikangoti kubva pataita ma-elections muna August 2023 kusvika iko zvinezvi. Nhau iyi ndemafambisirwo akaitwa ma-elections muZimbabwe. Ma-elections aya haana kufamba zvakanaka. Akanga aine chitsotsi chakawandisa nekutyisidzirwa kwakawandisa kwaitwa ruzhinji rweZimbabwe. Nekudaro vagari vemhondoro havasi kufara nekuda kwematanho avanga vakatarisira kwenguva yakareba kuti SADC ichange ichitora matanho maringe nema-elections aya. Nokuti zvizvarwa zvemhondoro zviri kuti SADC yakanyora yega ripoti, havana kunge vakagombedzerwa kunyora ripoti iyoyo, asi vakanyora vega kuti ma-elections aya haana kufamba zvakanaka, anga akazara nechitsotsi. Saka vari kuti vanga vakatarisira kuti nokuda kweripoti iyoyo ma-elections aya aifanira kunge achidzokorodzwa. Uye vanhu vemhondoro vazhinji vacho vane shungu netariro yekuti SADC dai yaongorora nekubata nhau iyi zvakanaka, nokuti inhau iri pamwoyo yevazhinji uye havasi kufara nekuramba nyika ichidzokera kumashure nekuda kwenhau dzine chekuita nema-elections. Tarisiro yavo ndeyekuti dai nhau yema-elections iyi yagadziriswa, vanhu vane tarisiro yekuti vaMnangagwa havasi kufanira kunge vachigadzwa kuita chairman weSADC ipo pachine nhau dziri kunetsa dzine chekuita nema-elections adarika. Saka nekudaro vari kuti SADC tiri kukumbira kuti mugadzirise nhau iyi musati mataura zvekugadzwa vaMnangagwa kuti vanga vari chairman weSADC, nekuti vaMnangagwa havana kunge vakahwina election zviri fair. Zvinopupurirwa nekuti kunyange pavakaita mhemberero dzavo dzekuzvigadza semutungamiri wenyika, hapana vamwe vatungamiri vakauya kubva kune dzimwe nyika kuti vazovatsigira pazuva iri.
Yesterday, The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission said it will interview Mr. Wicknell Chivayo and his colleagues regarding the leaked audios and pictures of transactions involving the government and the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. The audios revealed shocking corruption activities that involved millions of dollars siphoned from the government through a South African company. This company was used as a shield by Chivayo and his team to supply ZAC with voting materials and to handle ballot printing. Critics have said that the involvement of ZACC is just a deceptive move by ZANU-PF since Chivayo is a close friend of Mr. Mnangagwa. There is an increase in the number of accidents across the country. Yesterday, 2 bus accidents occurred, leading to 8 people losing their lives. 7 people died and 14 were injured when a bus carrying Anglican Church pilgrims returning from an annual festival in Marondera caught fire. They were being transported by a Passion Links bus, and the bus was engulfed in flames along the Marondera-Mutare Road. And still on the accidents, a Falcon College school bus carrying 56 students was involved in an accident at Danger area near Esgodini. 1 student was announced dead and others escaped with minor injuries. The school confirmed the accident and announced the death of Aidan O'Donovan, an upper 6th student. The communities are facing a lot of challenges due to the deepening political and economic crisis in the country. Today, Change Radio visited vendors in Harare who testified that the mismanagement of the economy has caused untold suffering among the citizens. Let's hear more from one Harare city vendor who refused to be named.
Polisi kanzuru yacho kukubata kutonyora $5 kana uine zvinhu zvishoma kazviri zvinhu zvakawanda inotonyora $10 from there mabhero $20 ende zvimwe zvacho uchizvishaya uchidirwa futi zvinhu zvacho zvakaoma zvakatooma pamwe pacho munogona kutonyora batanidza mari gurupu riya robva rakotora mari robva raenda koya zverimwe kuzoti nemanhingika nemarecruiter zvakangooma hazvo hauzombofungoti tiri munyika medu unotorarama seforeigner ikatenga nekuti uri nani kune dzimwe nyika iri kwambo.
And on the health front, upper respiratory illnesses are spreading in Zimbabwe this winter. Besides the common colds, there is also COVID-19. Change Radio encourages citizens to take necessary precautions to minimize the spread of these transmissible respiratory diseases, to seek medical help early so they get tested and receive appropriate treatment in a timely manner. And now, to end our bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Citizens impressed by President Chamisa's call for unity. Youth remain resolute after the arrest of Senator Timba and 80 others. Churches call for support in advocating for dialogue to end the economic and political crisis. From myself, Divine Nambira, and the entire team at Change Radio, we wish you an absolutely blessed night. Good evening, Zimbabwe. This is Change Radio News. Today is Monday, the 17th of June, 2024. The news read by Divine Nambira. Stories making the headlines. Citizens impressed by President Chamisa's call for unity. Youths remain resolute after the arrest of Senator Timber and 80 others. Churches call for support in advocating for dialogue to end the economic and political crisis. And now the stories in detail. Last week, President